Hello, everyone. Josh Oakes here with the smartsocial.com podcast. You could be listening to us on YouTube, iTunes. You could be listening to us on Stitcher Radio or anywhere else that you're picking this up on, or even on smartsocial.com. Our mission is to protect your kids and also to help them shine online. And you know that I'm old school. Even though social media and technology is very good and we believe in it, we also want to make sure that your kids are communicative, they are assertive, and they are persons, so that by the age of 25, they're moving out of your house and being awesome. And we have a dream that they're wholesome, awesome people that you raise them to be. Today, I have a guest that's going to help you do that. And she has some great ideas. She has tips. She even has a little product that I thought was so awesome that I needed to ask her and beg her for an hour of her time so that we could share it with you. Today, I have Jennifer Zumbiel on the video today. She's with a company that she started called Togather, and it's togathermoments.com, and she's here with us live. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you have a product. Tell us what you developed, what you have, and what it teaches parents and kids.
All right, awesome. My name's Jennifer. I am a mother of 4 children. I'm a wife of 15 years. I have a teaching background and a business background. I taught high school, just to tell you where I am here. So I felt like we live in a world where face-to-face communication is just becoming a lost art. And I think that the heart of families is what suffers when that breaks down. And essentially that's going to break down our families, which breaks down our communities. And I don't think I have to cite any proof to support that. So I was on a mission to come up with a solution for just providing a strong, deeper communication in the small moments that families have. I just mentioned I have 4 kids, so we are super distracted. We're very busy. We're always coming and going. I have a husband that travels. It's crazy. So, those times of connection are not going to naturally pop up in our days, just like everybody else, most of your listeners. So we have to get creative. So I got creative and I created mealtime games that help families get past the surface questions, the one-word answers, and dig deeper.
Awesome. So this is a mealtime game that around the dinner table, you do something that's impossible. You get a teenager to talk. Talk to us about what it's about. I mean, there's a whole story about how you developed it and done all the work, but what do listeners need to know about this? And how do you get people to talk? And what are those questions that are kind of asked in the game? While you're talking about that, I'm going to share with people your website screen. So those of you that are on YouTube or listening to us or watching us online, we're going to look at her website while she talks about this.
Okay, great question. So, like I said, I taught high school social studies. So I didn't mention that I taught social studies. I felt like when I created this game, these stickers had to solve 3 problems or have 3 things that they did. They had to go deeper, they had to lead to more conversation, and they had to make a teenager talk. Mm-hmm. I have a heart for teens. I know that if you can get them to open up, you can get anybody to talk with these questions. And I don't think that teenagers they want to talk. I don't think they're this demographic that's just anti-communicating or they don't want to dig deeper. I just think that sometimes we don't know the ways to reach them. Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
So just to bring everybody up to speed, there's a book and there's fold out, Togather the game, Togather, the game. It's simple. You choose a category, you pass the book, grab a sticker. So this is a sticker game that comes in a cute little book that's like a 4x8 book. It's about the size of my book, not to plug, but this is a 6x9 or something like that, 5x9. It's about that size, and it's a sticker book. And I think you've mentioned on past conversations, they're round stickers, but they're off circular. They're not perfect, and they're like us humans, they're just unique in the way they have. I'm going to read a couple of the stickers if you don't mind. Do you mind?
Okay. I do not mind. I would love for you to.
Everybody that's listening right now, Togather will help your family slow down, focus, and be present with one another. Sometimes all you have to do all you have are these moments, make them count. So the stickers you grab and you put it on your chest, your hand, your face, your forehead, whatever the teenager wants to do. And here's one of them. Share a story of how I helped someone even when they didn't ask for it. Another sticker. When I smell ... it makes me remember this memory ... Oh, I have a good one for that. Who has the next birthday at the table? Tell them what their best 3 qualities are. Oh, this is great. And you have a button called Bring Together Home, which is great. Awesome. So talk to us about how this works around the dinner table. You've got kids using the stickers. Tell us what you've heard from some parents, and what can parents learn from this?
Okay, so I think parents can learn, whether you're a family that already communicates a whole lot and you believe you communicate well around the table, or a family that struggles, maybe you don't know how to get past those one-word answers, or you have a family that just likes to sit in front of the TV and eat. This is a solution for everybody because it is a way to outsource your communication. It is a way to just provide you this resource of 105 prompts. That's how many are in that game in particular. And they ask the questions that you want to know, that people want to answer, but aren't always in the mood to. If you say to your teenage son, tell me the greatest risk you took this year. That's a great question, but they might look at you, roll your eyes and say, Mom, why are you asking me that? Dad, that's so weird, and just brush it off. But if they're passing around a game and it has a sticker, well, the sticker told you to do it. So it's more likely that you're going to. And I think by sitting at a table, you have a captive audience that is right there ready to listen. So you are setting it up for everyone to feel like a cohesive unit. You get to hear compliments from people. It's not all deep stuff either. So you get to have some good bantering back and forth. You get to hear lighthearted things, but everyone engages at once. And it just provides a reason for people to open up.
That's amazing. So teenagers are hard to get to open up because everything is uncool. Parents are usually the least cool in their family, right? I always joke with teens, run away while you know it all, right? There's that old phrase. It's like take off because they're always thinking that way. But you're able to get them to open up using these prompts. Tell us a story about how that happened. You've had users use this and give you feedback. What are some of the things they've said?
Okay, so I have had some people just tell me, some family out in California, actually, she has 4 teenagers, and she said that she'll go through a round. So just to back up, there's 7 categories in there. So you just peel, you can do 5 stickers, you can do 4, you can do 10, it doesn't matter. But she said her teenagers will say, let's go through another round. They don't want to just stop after one category. They want to keep going. I just think this is a generation that craves the face-to-face communication, and they don't even have the opportunity all the time. All their friends are texting them all the time. Their parents are coming and going in the house. And so they just love this. And then I have a lot of great stories of parents that have these great conversations with their children, their teenagers, that they might not otherwise hear. I think I shared this one with you last week, that a girl chose a sticker. She was about 14, and it said, tell the oldest person something you admire about them. And she got to tell her dad right there at the kitchen table with her 3 other siblings and her mom. And she said to her dad, I admire you for how you are such a good listener, and you always listen to me. And when the mom emailed me this, she said, I had tears in my eyes. My husband had tears in his eyes. It was such a special moment. And, that family, I know for a fact they communicate, because she's told me that before, that this was just a helpful tool to something they already did. But those moments don't really happen organically in your home all the time. And this is a way that just creates those natural ways to talk. And if you don't use this game, there's just so many ways to do that if you do it intentionally, to bring those moments. I think we all just need to be intentional with asking open-ended questions instead of one-word answer questions.
I love that as well. Yeah. And so open-ended questions, meaning what was your favorite thing of the day rather than did you have a good day? Because did you have a good day is a
Yes.
yes and no. Open-ended meaning what was the answer? I
And I
love
think a
this.
lot of times instead of, I think bring a feeling into the question, like, tell me how you were helpful at play practice today, or tell me something somebody did that was hilarious today at school. If you bring feelings in, I think people are more likely to open up.
Especially since the student probably had those feelings and they're just looking for an
Mm-hmm.
outlet for that. I heard another mom tell me, this is terrible, but if a zombie had to, there was a zombie apocalypse, which one teacher would you want to be able to save and take home so they're safe? What's your favorite? And then, oh my gosh, we have to save this teacher. Like basically, what's your favorite teacher? And speaking in terms of what the kids would do, what are some of the other questions or other ways that even if parents can't take your product home, and we're going to give you everybody a free chance to try it later. We're going to give you a link, and there's a link below. But what are some other ways that parents can open their kids up around the dinner table?
Okay, so one thing I do on social media, which I love, is I talk about teachable lyrics. And I do a post every week that's just about a song lyric. And I think this goes well for song lyrics or for just a quote that you really like, is just share a quote, share a line from a song, and just start talking about the meaning of it. So, for example, we have a sign in our house. It's the last thing you see before you exit into our garage. It says, "Do what is right, not what is easy." And if you have a sign like that hanging in your home, bring it up at the dinner table. Just say, you could even make it a two-part thing, like, hey, I thought we'd do something fun. I'm going to ask you, does anyone remember what sign is hanging by our garage? Which happens to be actually one of the questions in our book. Can anyone remember it? And maybe someone will remember it. So that's funny because they'll think, gosh, I pass that every day. What does it say? What does it say? And then the second part is, you're planting this question at the table because you want to have this conversation with your children, and it happens to be a really great quote. So you say, all right, let's talk about what that means. What does it mean to do what is right, not what is easy? And then you can just get really good conversation going. And then you can give examples, like, let's talk about then something in our lives that we've done that maybe we made the wrong choice and we did the easier route instead of what was right, or the opposite. And so I think, to answer your question, is just be intentional about maybe, pulling a quote out. If you see something when you're scrolling through online, write it down and bring it to the table and slap it in the middle of the table. Who cares? I just think, try something new. If the same old's not working, bring a new element to the table.
I love that. And I have something else for all of our listeners here today. This is super valuable. And I want to talk about the next step that people can do. But I also want to talk to everybody about our 3-step plan, Jennifer, in this world is really to get people to find out what their kids are doing online by monitoring them using Google. And it turns out that's another way to open kids up around the dinner table, is to go to Google and to search for each one of the family's names and see what comes up. Because too often there's too many scary predators out there. There's all these questions parents have, but if they just go, and our biggest mission in March that we're planning is to teach the world how to Google themselves. And I have about 7 different ways that everybody's going to Google you someday before you get into your dream school and your dream internship. And another one that we love to tell people is go around the dinner table and work with each other. You don't want a device sometimes around the dinner table. Maybe it's after dinner, whatever. But once they're done with a game like this, a dialogue starter, going to Google and looking at and Googling people, and it turns Google into the bad person, saying, well, look at all those other people that are coming up. I didn't know that post about me is there, the school post. And it's a dialogue starter that parents can go, look at the internet, wisdom on the web. And what do you think about that? Does that you put your best foot forward? We've talked about this, your dream college, and so on. So that's one of the things
I was just gonna say, I love what you were doing with that, because my whole mission is to just change face-to-face communication, make people talk past the surface questions. And I love that your whole plan is set up to be just that for parents. It's an engagement between parents and children. It's not a whole program where you just tell your kids what to do, empower them, and hope it helps. You want that to be an ongoing thing, so these parents know what their children are constantly doing. But it also gives the children the level of comfort for them to have these discussions with their parents about the serious things. And I always say, if you can talk to your kids about the little things when they're little or younger, they'll come to you with the bigger things as they grow.
That's a great line. That's such a great line. The little things when they're little. I love that. And one of our 3-step plan for this year to get parents, and dialogue is what you're doing with your game, your program, just your mission. Let's say it's your mission. If people buy the game, it's great. If they don't, it's don't. And side note, if you're listening to this on a podcast, please subscribe, please rate, please review. I do not get paid by any of our guests. I don't get paid by the big companies or by any of the apps. The only way that we get paid are, 1, for free if you help spread our message. That's great. Number 2, if I go speak at a school, or 3, if a parent joins our Parent University at-home membership program to mentor their child on smart online decisions. But I love your mission. What you're doing here, Jennifer, is you're teaching people to dialogue, which is unfortunately the best thing that they can do. It takes work, but it's the safest. We always tell people, you cannot outsource the safety of your child, and dialogue is going to be the best way to save. An ongoing, regular dialogue is going to be the best thing for your kids, because unfortunately it's hard. And number 2, you're going to know about something before anybody else does, because there's no app that'll come in to save your child. A lot of people outsource their transportation to Uber and Lyft, but you can't do that on your safety.
No. And, talking about our mission here and stuff, I think that as parents, we have to just stay consistent and be very obedient to these things that we put in place. I was at a meeting this morning, and there was a quote, and it was, I don't have it exactly, but it was basically, pain and suffering is not what's breaking down our world. It's a lack of obedience. And a lot of other things, lack of communication. But that's such an interesting point, is that if you can teach yourself and your family the value of obedience to social media care, obedience to communication around the dinner table, obedience to your sport, your academics, your good manners, your eye contact, whatever it is, just if we can all become a culture that teaches people about obedience, and that doesn't mean submissiveness, it just means be obedient to the value that you're trying to generate in yourself, then we'll all become better.
I love it. So you have an offer for everybody that's listening to this right now, and that is to go to togathermoments.com/try, which we've linked to below, above, or in the bio. And what do people get when they click on that and get a free category sampler? What is that all about?
I mentioned before that we have 7 different categories. So it's one sticker. Now, we cannot virtually send sticker paper to you, obviously. So they're just virtual stickers that you print out at home. They're just 7 of our irregular circles. I think they're one of our best conversation prompts from each of our categories. And then you can just kind of see what the style is, and you can carry those, expand on that category yourself, come up with a question yourself that you think would be a part of that category. And you can do this in the car, out at a restaurant. I did it I wanted this to be around meal times, because I mentioned this before, but I think that if we have a lack of communication in our families, and we all know this, or just threats to our communication, everybody has to eat. So if you put the food down, they will come. That's just a fact. So be intentional about how you set up your dinner time. Nobody can eat till everyone is seated. You can't talk about anything negative around the dinner table because that'll, just ward people away. But just make it happen around the meal time because everybody is right there engaged with one another. And if they're not, set rules. If you want that to happen in your family, then set the rules and make it happen. But this is just that category sampler could, be used in the car or whatever as well.
I love that. That's really great. And I admire you. I'm just going to say some nice things about you. I admire you because you're a mom doing the right thing, and you're taking the right thing and making a little business out of it. And you're helping others by doing this. So good for you for taking a leap of faith. I admire you, look up to you for this, and think you're showing other people some awesome stuff. So keep up the great work. Now, for all of you listening, watching, no matter where you are in the world, I'd like to send you a little sample book that we wrote called How to Navigate Social Media with Your Student. It's a PDF parent guide. It's available by clicking the link below as well. How to Navigate Social Media. You join our newsletter as well. It teaches you 3 most important things that are really, really important to keeping your kids safe on the internet. How do I know what my kids are doing online? It shows you how to navigate Google, a free tool, and it gives you access to my free app, a special tool called Footprint Friday, to learn what your kids are doing online and a dialogue starter about the internet. Super important. Next, how do I get my kids off their screens? It gives you 20 to 40 offline activities that go outside. Your kids vote on them, and they go outside and they actually do things in the real world so that someday when you're ready for them to be online, it shows them cool things that they can do to be positive on the web. We have a whole curriculum that teaches your child how to build a website and then go to Instagram when you're ready for them to someday be online. And once they've developed a website, it trains them on how to be really careful about a resume, and then Instagram becomes an extension of that resume, and they're trained. They're not given this Ferrari without knowing how to drive. They're taught how to drive in a little tiny goat cart, and then all of a sudden when they get that Ferrari, which is every device that we all have, is a deadly weapon, essentially. Oh, there's my niece and my nephew. Look how cute that is. But every one of those is, we teach them how to be positive online, which is so important. You can click the links below to join our newsletter to get that guide for 100% free. Jennifer, I'm really thankful for you. It's setting a standard for people on how to talk around the dinner table, because I think dinner tables have gone away. They are one of the things in the past that we'll look back on, sadly. And I think a lot of us need to just remind people that is one of the very few things that we still have, is everybody sitting around the dinner table and talking about your day. What would you tell people that think they're too busy to have a dinner together?
I'm too busy to have dinners together. Okay, so that's a great question because I have 4 kids. They're ages 3 to 11. We are in the craziness of life right now. Yesterday, I left my house. Yesterday was an exception. 7 times to take my kids places, 7 out of my driveway. I know that's crazy. My husband was coming back from work late, so I was solo. We don't overschedule our kids. We just have 4 kids, and I had to take a neighbor somewhere and whatever. But I would say it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So I always say, as far as our business goes, if you have one night a week together to eat dinner for 30 minutes, awesome, we're going to make it count. So I just think everybody needs to look at their schedule. And if it's important you have a family meal together, it doesn't have to be 5 family meals together a week. Everybody sit down. It's your own family. Make them all sit down, have a family meeting. Say, okay, you know what? On Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 7:30, we are all in the house together. Everyone schedule it in. We're having a family meal. If you're only all together from 7:30 to 8:30 and it's too late, either eat dinner late or have dessert together. That's dessert night every Tuesday. I just think that I only have small moments too. We just all have to make them count. It's about anyone who says, don't complain you can't work out. You could get up at 5:30 a.m. and do it, right? It's the same thing I think about making that quality family time, is that you got to carve out the small moments, and you can have good conversation in 10 minutes. I think if you're driving your child to a carpool, to dance class that's 10 minutes away, make sure that radio is turned off and the phone is off and you guys are just talking. I think you can really capitalize on those small moments.
I love that. Okay, so one more thing. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. A lot of parents are listening to this thinking, my kids, every time I take the phone away, they get upset. They get almost shaky hands, like you've taken away a drug or something. And it's a difficult time because a lot of parents gave their kids a phone at a very early age. And what would you say as the curator of dinner table conversations, as a leader in the opening up dialogue industry, which I admire you for, what would you say to people about how to talk to your kids to put the phone in the other room so that you can have that discussion and get them started on at least the first set of discussions?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think that, are you talking about if you physically had our game or any conversation in general?
Any conversation. Those who are listening, I mean, This is the biggest thing is my daughter freaks out. You take that phone away, she freaks out. She's 13, 14, 15, and she doesn't want to be around that. I mean, some kids are great, some kids aren't, and it's an uphill battle. What would you tell them?
So I think that anytime you change something big in your kids' lives or the common thing that's going on in your family, there's a void, and you have to come up with something that's great to fill that. But I also think you're the parent. If you're gonna implement something, then stick to it. Be consistent. So if all of a sudden you have to take it away, it's like any kind of withdrawal. You're going to go through a couple of days or weeks probably of what would the word be, like rebellion or, hard discussions with your teenager. But I think that every parent just has to be consistent. We owe that to our children. So if you take it away and let's say you're not having the backlash from it, then just come up with something fun. Just put it down, but put yours down too. If you're asking them to put theirs down, then yours better be put away is what I think. So have a basket on your counter and everything goes there face down, and go sit with your child and engage with them. Know what their interests are and just sit down, look at them in the eye, invite them out on the front porch, and just say, hey, I've seen you studying for your test really hard this week. How did it go? Or I saw that you have been hanging out with this person more. Tell me about them. What do you like to do with them? Do they make you feel like a good friend or whatever? I think that we just owe it to our children to let them see we are interested in them. We want to get to know them as people, and we want to build trust with them. So to answer your question, I don't know what would happen if you take it away from the kid that loves it, but I do know how to keep that dialogue going with good tactics. It's just that I think that parent needs to be consistent in keeping up with it. Keep inviting them on the front porch. Keep, asking them about their day. Don't give up because they might give you one-word answers.
Good for you. That's awesome. And wow, I'm thankful for you and for all that you're bringing to us. Everybody that's watching and listening to this, you can click the link below to go to Togather, Togather, moments.com. If you want to go to /try, you can get a sampler at home for one of those categories. And these are just fun ways to get a start. People pay $30, $40, $50 for a game at home. This is a game that your kids play. Once again, I don't get paid to do this, but I like where your heart is at. I'm doing this because I think it's a message that the world needs to hear. And even if people never buy it, they will at least be a little bit inspired. The link is below if you want to take her up on that. I think it's just
yes. And can I say one more thing? If you don't purchase the game, follow us on social media anyway, because I always try to give tips like I'm talking about here of how to engage in small moments.
I love it. We'll link to that below as well. Thanks to all of you for listening. Remember, your kids are watching, so set positive. Show them how to be light, bright, and polite online, because no matter where you go, they are going to be little versions of you. And one more thing to all the parents out there right now that are thinking, well, I have to be everything. Remember that I've heard from a lot of other parents that it's a lot like Swiss cheese. It's delicious, and you might have a couple holes in your game, and it is perfectly fine to, and in fact, it's highly suggested to gather a village around your child to nurture your child, because you could be the most amazing parent. There'll still be a few things you might not know how to do very well, and you aren't expected to do it all. Gather awesome people, aunts, uncles, and everyone else. The school's there to help, and everybody else. So make sure that you're raising your child in a village. It's not just you, the only person that needs to help your kid. We're here to help as well. You can click the link below to join our newsletter and get our free guide that'll really give a 3-step plan to protecting you online. Jennifer, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate what you're doing for families as well.
Thank you. I'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great day and keep it light, bright, and polite.